I'm Lex.
I'm Tay.
And this is our take on college. All right, everybody. So welcome back. This is our second episode, and we are so excited for, I don't even know, just the whole series. And today we are talking about a really important subject, especially for college kids, obviously. And, I think it's going to be a really awesome time sharing our story. Tay, what do you?
I think it's definitely going to be very beneficial to hear both of our different perspectives because, we both did change our majors, but I would say a little bit for different reasons, maybe, but I don't know. You can be the judge of that after we give you our best advice.
Agreed. But yeah, I'm really excited about today. One, let's just have a little commotion for the outfits. Like, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm kind of really happy about my fit, and Taylor is wearing some really cute merch for one of the organizations she's here on.
Yeah, today I'm wearing my last spring's Women in Law merch at Indiana University.
Super cutie. Love it. So, hey, everybody who is watching. But anyways, kind of let's, get into it. So obviously today's episode is it's okay to change your major. Why? Because we both did. And I think, as a college kid, growing up, I always knew what I wanted to do, or I thought I knew what I wanted to do when I was super little. We used to go to Florida all the time. So I, for a really long time, thought that I wanted to go into like biology, or I wanted to do anything that had to do with the ocean or animals. I, interned at the zoo in high school in the Dolphin Pavilion in Indianapolis, and I loved it, but it also showed me a side of things that I don't necessarily agree with, which we won't get into, but that's kind of what deterred me away. And then I really was set on being a nurse, and that's like what I wanted to do coming into school, and never in a million years would have ever thought that I'd be here today saying that that is no longer the major that I'm pursuing. So it's kind of crazy to talk about. I went through a lot mentally with that, and we will get further into that as the episode progresses, but that's kind of where I am, is I'm no longer a nursing major, and I all of high school thought that that's what I was going to do, basically. And yeah, again, little Lexi's probably very confused, but I know that there's a good future in store with what I want to do. And Taylor, how are you feeling?
Yeah. Little Lexi's allowed to be a little confused. From my point of view, I had no idea what I wanted to do. You could ask, anyone in my family, I would have gave you 17 different answers. I would have said chef, bakery owner, musician, songwriter, singer, actress at one point. I got a forensics kit for a birthday one time, was obsessed with it.
I did as well, by the way, you guys, and did a 10-minute project over it in 7th grade.
Yeah, I never really knew what I wanted to do, exactly, but I don't know. I had a class in high school, loved it, decided to do my major based off that class, and I don't know, maybe it was just that class, I'm not really sure, but yeah, so Taylor, younger version, would not be shocked that we changed our minds for sure.
I think that's just like a thing is, when I told people what I wanted to do, it wasn't that people necessarily doubted me. It was just like, oh, are you sure that that's what you want to do? Like, you have such a strong-willed opinion of like what you want to do. Like, aren't you afraid you're going to change your mind and things aren't going to work out? And, just as much of that and the stigma around changing your majors is exactly why kids are so unsure nowadays of what they want to do, or if they are, they don't want to share what their plans are, because so many people are for either side and know for the most part, besides obviously, I feel like parents or other situations, are supportive. I feel like when I told people that I wanted to be a nurse, it was a lot of like, oh, in this like day and age and in this climate, you want to be a nurse. And it's like, yeah, I want to help people. I want to give back to a community that did a lot for me as a kid and did a lot for my family. And I never saw any issue with that. And a lot of people were just like, well, I don't know. I wouldn't get your hopes up. And it was like, and I never let that deter me away from why I'm no longer in my major. But looking back on it, it's like, someone who wasn't in the same situation as I am and wasn't as confident in themselves, it's like, why would you put that on a kid? Why would you do that? Like, this person is wanting to shell out all of this money to go to school and get a degree and do something that they're passionate about. And you're going to sit here and tell me, well, I wouldn't be too sure about that. I just think that that's crazy.
Yeah, I definitely got a little bit of that too with psychology, because it was like, well, what are you going to do with that? Because with psychology, you usually have to move on past a basic undergrad. You usually have to do like a PhD, maybe a master's, to like actually have a career. Or some people with psychology majors go back and get a master's in social work, things like that. So then it was always just like, well, why are you doing that? Like that has nothing to do with what you want to do. So, I mean, it's with our two majors originally, it was a little like, well, what are you going to do if that doesn't work out? That was a very big part of it.
It was just crazy to me that people said the things that they did and acted the way that they did. And it's just like, it's so disheartening to see. And that's why so many kids are so lost when they go to school. And that's how you end up racking up so much debt. And, the stigma behind it is just absolutely crazy. What people tell you and make you believe, like, is really mind-boggling, honestly. Like, part of me still hurts looking back on like the things that happened and the things that people said when I wanted to come to school. And then obviously when that didn't work out, it was a lot of, I told you so. And it's like, but you don't even know the reason why I changed my mind. You're so quick to assume and judge that and you really don't. And it's like, instead of asking me what went wrong or trying to find out the real reason of why a lot of college kids switch their majors, you just sat there and assumed that you knew what you did, but you were wrong. And I want people to know that people really take things at surface value, and you should never let someone's opinion of who you are or what you want to do with your life lead you elsewhere. You should do what you want to do for you and seek out the people that are willing to help you get there and give you guidance, instead of allowing other people's opinions of you and what you should be doing with your life because they think that they know better than you when they don't. Don't let them affect that. And, if you're a college freshman listening, or if you're a college senior listening, if you're someone that's graduated college and are listening, that applies to any aspect of your life. It's not just about your college major, but especially while you're here and you're paying so much money to get a degree to go off and then spend the rest of your life in hopefully a career field that you're somewhat passionate about. Don't let someone turn you away from that just because it's not what they believe is the best fit for you, because they're not you. And I know that that's something that a lot of people hear all the time, but it's the truth. You shouldn't, and I know it's hard because I do it, and I bet you do too, Tay, but it's one of those things where it's like, we really have to be confident in who we are and take the time to realize that we know what's best for ourselves, and we just have to put ourselves around people that are willing to be supportive and see that what's the best for us.
Yeah, and it's just always seen as something negative when you're switching. They just automatically assume it's like a bad reason. And then you sit there and you think about it, like, I know just how much of a toll it took on both of us. I mean, especially you. But it takes a lot to be able to sit there and have enough like self like reflection and just like, you think so much about it before doing it. And that's one thing I don't think you should just change it like on a whim just because everybody else decided, oh, I'm going to change my major. No. Like there's so much self-thinking that you have to be able to do. And honestly, it takes a lot to be able to be like, yeah, I really think genuinely I want to change this. And it's kind of a courageous thing, I think. Because if you're doing it for the right reason, it should have taken not necessarily so long to make that decision, but a lot should have gone into that decision.
I agree. I just, like, I think a lot of people don't realize, too, that, you know, your major is obviously why you're at school. And everybody knows that. And I think a lot of people sometimes are like, oh, yeah, like, school's super important. I'm going to do whatever. But, like, you're here for school. You're paying thousands of dollars for school. But also, your mental health is not necessarily at stake. But that's something that's so important for perspective, is the fact that you, as a human being, are putting yourself through so much. And you have to be able to take a step back and be like, am I doing what is best for me? Am I taking care of myself? Am I happy? Am I passionate about what I'm doing? And I think a lot of people don't realize that, you know, if you don't have the drive to go to class and you don't have the passion to do what you're doing, and you're forcing yourself into this depressive state to go to class, and you're paying thousands of dollars for something you don't want to do, I would say a lot of people would agree that that's not worth it. And, you know, it really is a matter of mental wellness. And I don't think a lot of people touch on that enough. It's like, of course, like, you don't want to go into a career that you're not happy with and you're only focusing on the money. But it really is, these are such crucial years of your life. And do you really want to beat yourself stupid every day because you are super unhappy and really mentally in a not good place just because someone told you that you would fit better here? Because they know better than you do. By the way, for those listening on Spotify, I just did air quotations because they don't know better than you, let's be honest.
No, and I think something that is so important with the whole process is definitely talking to an advisor about it. Because I think that there's like 4 questions that, like, as college kids, we're sitting there asking ourselves, like, kind of on a rotation before we make that decision to, like, go and see an advisor to potentially change something. And it's like, am I feeling overwhelmed? Like, why am I feeling that way? And then it's, are my classes just hard, or is my heart not in it? And then there's am I completely unsure about my future? Am I changing my mind? Like, things like that. And then it's, do I think, like, a different major will be easier, like, on me as a person? Because, like you said, like, we beat ourselves up about stuff like that. And I personally spoke to my advisor a lot freshman year. I actually had 5 over the course of freshman year. But when I finally got settled with one that I liked, and that's another thing, it's okay if you don't like your advisor. Shop around, find one that you like, find one that works well for you and will work well with you, because that's so important. So advisors in this process is so important.
Yeah, like, if anybody knows me, they know about my situation. I enjoy my advisor, I do, but I am currently in what they call university division. So I think this is kind of the point where we're going to start talking about our current majors, obviously how we got here and kind of why, to give a little bit of background into the things that we've been saying so far. But basically, when I came into IU, the way that it works here with nursing is that you come in as what they call a pre-nursing student, and you have to take prerequisite classes. And essentially what you need is to have an A in all of your classes. There is no room really for you to have anything else but an A. And anybody who has been in the program or has started out in the program the same way that I did knows exactly what I'm talking about. You go into new student orientation over the summer, and you don't meet with other advisors from anywhere else in the school. You meet with the nursing school advisors, which, by the way, aren't actually your advisors until you get in. So these people are only there to help you advise on like what classes you should take, but they're not there for the rest of what goes on before you get into the nursing program. Because again, that's what happens is you come in as a pre-nursing student and then you have to work your ass off. Excuse my language. I also meant to mention, guys, I'm really sorry. I kind of was going off in the last podcast episode, but you work your butt off and you get to the point where you're just tirelessly working and working and working and cramming information into your head, working on all of these different classes. And sometimes your best is just not good enough, unfortunately. And they only take, I think they changed to, so they used to only take 80 students out of the 600 plus that apply, which is crazy. Now I think they doubled it. So they added 40 more spots. So it's 120 now. So I would have been this year in the first class of 120 nursing students versus the 80 in years past. But I think a lot of people, when I said that I was switching my major, took it as, oh, it was too hard, or, oh, like you don't want to put up with the work. No, that's not at all the case. I did well in my classes, actually. Unfortunately, I got very sick freshman year. As we know, I talked about in the last episode, I am a frequenter of the Student Health Center, ladies and gentlemen. I literally walk in there and they recognize me immediately. So it's really fun. And basically, I was just extremely sick. I had sinus infections every month. It got to the point second semester that I actually had to go see an orthopedic specialist about my leg, as I was tearing a ligament in my knee and was basically put on bed rest for the entire semester. And I had to withdraw from all but one class the second semester after having a really difficult first semester, as well having to withdraw from some classes. And this is stuff that I don't like to talk about because I am, one, disappointed in myself, but I have been able to grow from the situation. And I know that it's okay and everybody's journey looks different. And I'm really proud of myself. On that note, with having all of those withdrawals, I did take 4 classes over the summer and did extremely well in those classes, as some of them are at a 300 level, and I aced them. And they really were. I mean, there are kids that'll tell you in my program that those classes are hard. And so I was very proud of myself to be able to come back and take 4 classes over the summer over some pretty difficult subjects and do well after basically having to remove myself second semester of college while still living on campus. So anyways, I just was not in a good mental place. And Taylor can attest to this, obviously, because we lived together. And I couldn't go to class. And I was just spreading myself thin as far as trying to fix my class assignments. The problem was really not all of the blame goes to this, clearly. I mean, having a physical ailment didn't help. But the fact that some of my professors were not willing to accommodate was extremely frustrating. And I did go to the student advocate, like the advocate service, to try and help, but there really wasn't much that they could do. And I just knew that I didn't want to spend another year on campus. I really love college, but I didn't want to be a super senior, which there's nothing wrong with that. I personally didn't see that for myself, and I wasn't happy. And I felt that I was going to be burnt out before I even graduated, whether that was in the nursing program or like had I got in, or if I had to wait another year and do it like again. So I'd been either way, just in the nursing program, I would have been burnt out before actually getting out into the field. And in my eyes, it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth my mental health. It wasn't worth my physical health, that it was absolutely just tearing apart. And so I called my parents and I told them the situation. And obviously that's nothing that your parents ever want to hear. My parents were, one, disappointed, but they also were sad because I had wanted this for so long and they wanted it so bad for me. And it just wasn't what we thought it was going to be, and it sucked. So I kind of went back to the drawing board. I talked with a couple of my different friends. I thought about the classes that I had taken first semester that I really liked, and one of them that stood out was my media class. I really enjoyed that class. I loved going to discussion. I loved learning about the various forms of media literacy, all different types of stuff like that. And I've always loved like content creation. I'm super big on like my Instagram as far as like I really like to do it, not necessarily follower count wise, but you know, I have fun. I love creating content. I love working with the different brands that I work with, and I love TikTok. I love you know, making my YouTube videos that I do on my personal channel. And so I was like, why don't I think about media? Like, what could I do that'd be super fun and something that I'm passionate about? And I went and talked with one of my girlfriends who's in media, and she is in sports media, actually. And that's what my current major is. So we talked about that, and I kind of realized that a lot of people are probably like, oh, well, what are you going to do in sports media? Like, you're going to be a broadcaster. Not necessarily. Again, another stigma with majors specifically is that you just hear a term like psychology and you automatically think, oh, well, you want to be a psychiatrist, or you want to do this, or you want to do that. It's like, again, we need to stop taking things at the face value, and we need to like understand that there are so many different options with a major that you could do. Like, of course, there are obvious journalism things that I could be doing, but I could work on the social media content team, or I could be working in PR. I could do advertising. There are so many different things for a team or for an organization within the realm of sports, instead of just, oh, like you're just wanting to go on ESPN and broadcast. Actually, no, I really don't want to do that. That's not my first choice. But there are just so many different things. And like I said, I am specializing in minors. Like, I am going to keep my psych minor, and I have a public relations minor. I have a creative media advertising minor, and then sports management and marketing. So a couple different areas to touch, which will be beneficial in the long run. But I absolutely love it. I'm thriving. I'm involved in a couple different things right now with this major. But I think what people need to realize is that I switched because of my mental health, and I switched because I knew that I couldn't keep pursuing that anymore, because it was literally driving me to the point that I did not want to be here anymore. And I'm not just talking about IU or like, you know, school, like I'm talking about in general. And it just is something that really needs to be touched on and destigmatized, because it truly is a crucial matter in the minds of, you know, people and mental health. But anyways, that's kind of like my story and how I'm here. You know, don't be afraid to kind of reflect on what you've been doing and what you like and what you don't like, because obviously that's going to tell you what you should be doing and what you shouldn't be doing. And don't be afraid to ask people about their opinions, but don't follow in other people's footsteps just because, you know, they're your friend or something like that. Like, I really think it's cool that I have friends that are doing the same thing, but their aspirations are very different from mine, which is like the important thing to note here. So anyways, I'm going to stop rambling and I'm going to let Tay talk, but that's kind of my story and why and how I changed my major.
Yeah, so I had completely different circumstances than Lexi, unfortunately, had to go through. And as a person who was like living with her and like seeing her every day, I could tell it was obviously very draining. And I think that's another thing too. Like, we just need to be supportive of people that are thinking about changing majors and things like that, just because I know that from my perspective, it was so hard on you. And I hated that for you. And with mine, I had changed halfway through the first semester. I was sitting there and I was like, I'm not enjoying this psych class as much as I'm enjoying this criminal justice class. And it wasn't that I was doing bad in either. I was doing pretty much the exact same in both. But I was sitting there and I was like, I thoroughly enjoyed this class so much better. So I changed because I liked the curriculum and I liked the format and I liked things like that about the criminal justice major a whole lot better than the psych, because I knew I was not going to do good in like cognitive psych or like neuroscience or like anything like directly with like the brain anatomy, things like that. Like, I knew that was not going to be my strength. So I changed to better align myself with the things that I was stronger in. And I feel like I am doing a whole lot better with the criminal justice side of all of it. I'm still a psych minor. Don't get me wrong. Still a psych minor. I still enjoy it. Like, I'm going to take things like abnormal psych, and right now I'm in like developmental psych, and then I'm going to take psychology of personality. So like things that are not anything that I was like not necessarily scared of, but I just knew I wasn't going to thrive in those classes, and I knew they were going to be so hard on me, and I didn't feel like not doing that to myself, because like nobody's doing that to me, but like I just didn't feel like that was where my strengths lie. And then I actually ended up adding another minor over the summer. So I added a minor in law and public policy, and I am in an organization on campus called Phi Alpha Delta. It's the pre-law fraternity. They actually meet in the O'Neill School, so SPIA. They meet in SPIA. And I was sitting there, and I remember there's a class in there that's before a meeting, and it was this law and public, I think it's law and public advocacy or something. And I remember I would always sit out there before that, in between the meeting or whatever, and I was like, that genuinely sounds so like interesting. Like what's that? So then I sat there for like another half of the second semester just doing research into that. And like that was purely added off of a new interest that I had developed. And you're gonna find new things. That's the great part about college. You're gonna find new things that interest you, and you're gonna maybe find out that you're not as interested in things you thought you were going into it. So, I mean, that's really my reasoning. It's very different from Lexi's, but it's still a reason. So,
No, and your reason is so valid. Like, again, everybody's story is different and everybody's journey is different. And I think we need to stop, comparing ourselves to others, because it's not productive. We come to school for ourselves and we don't come for other people. And we need to kind of remember that. And I know it can be really hard because you are going to want to compare yourself. I mean, I was comparing myself again to my fellow classmates, because that's, something else that I wanted to mention too, with like another reason I switched my major is that, the program here is great, but it pits you against your classmates. And that was something I struggled with so hard. I was constantly comparing myself. I always felt that I wasn't good enough, that I wasn't doing enough, and that, I wasn't going to get in because of it. And it really, and I had no friends in any of those classes. I had one friend, and Rachel, if you're somehow watching or listening to this, I miss you bunches. And Rachel really was the only person that was there for me, and I'm pretty sure vice versa. Like, it was very much like you are in this fight to the death to see who gets in, and they would break you down and not build you back up again. They would break you down and leave you there, and you would have to somehow pick up the pieces and glue yourself back together without the help of anyone else. And it was not at all what I wanted. And I don't want to shy anyone away from that major, because it's a wonderful, wonderful major. But I use curriculum, and the way that they went about it was not for me. And who knows what the future holds? Who knows what I'm going to be doing in 30 years? I could be doing sports media for so long and then go back to school and get, an accelerated degree. I feel like a lot of people don't ever think of that as an option, but this life is too short for us to not enjoy and do the things that we want to do. So if that's what I want to do later in life, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to let anyone tell me different, because it is possible. And you should do what makes you happy. You shouldn't, again, let people tell you what to do or tell you that it's not possible, because that's not true. Like when I was in high school, for example, I went to a career center, and that's where I got my certified medical assistant degree my senior year of high school. And my teacher actually was never a certified medical assistant. She went to school and I believe received some sort of business major, and then had to end up dropping out. She got her associate's degree. She ended up dropping out because her and her husband were going to get married and have kids. She ended up getting pregnant like junior year of college. So, she decided to leave. And she had an associate's degree again in business and was kind of doing her own little thing, working for different companies and doing whatever they needed, and like management and like stuff like that. And she was like, but this isn't what I wanted to do fully for the rest of my life. I wanted to do this for like a little bit. And then, she was like, and I want to go back to school and I want to be a nurse. So she, at 40 years old, went to a community college, which again, there's nothing wrong with. That was just, she was able to commute there and take classes at night while working her other job and taking care of her kids. So, and yes, like, also need to preface that she literally has like 3 kids and was going to school and doing that. So she went back at like 40 years old, got her accelerated degree within a year and a half, and then went to work for one of the biggest hospitals in the nation and worked there for, I want to say, over a decade, and then just recently retired and was able to get an associate's teaching degree. And that's why she now teaches certified medical assistant courses. So like, she was doing one job for a while, went back to school, and then worked as a nurse for a decade. And I just think that that shows truly that you don't have to do what makes the most money in college. If you want to pursue something else that you're really good at and you're really passionate about, and that's what you want to spend the money that is taking you to school on, you should do what makes you happy and what you're passionate about and what you're good at, because that's how you thrive and that's how you succeed. If you want to just go into it because it's going to make me a lot of money, sure, that could be great for a while. You're making a lot of money, but you're unhappy. And, I had a conversation with my dad's fiance, and she went to school, she went to Purdue, and she got her biology degree. And she is now a pharmaceutical sales rep. And she, I don't think necessarily thought that that was going to be the path that she was going to go down, but she literally has not stopped working since the day she graduated college. And for a while, she wanted to go back to school and get a different degree, but she hasn't because the money has always been good. And she regrets it. And she's told me that. And she wishes that she would have been able to go back to school and, kind of pursue something else. Not that she doesn't, not that she hates her job or anything, but it's not necessarily what she thought she'd be doing for the rest of her life. And now, I have a little half sister who's 5, and love you, Kennebug, if you're listening. But, like, that's just not where she saw herself, if that made sense. So it's like, there's so many different paths, and we need to really get rid of the stigma that, you can't do what you're passionate or happy about because it's not what makes sense. The world is always changing, always evolving. There's always room for new things. And, that's why you can take a major and then specialize in something. Like, I think when we came to IU, and I don't know if you had the same experience, but I remember when we were like getting like the little run through of like red carpet day or whatever, they literally were like, you can have like this major and then you could specialize. You could make your own minor or like own class of something. And I remember they were saying like, they don't have a specialized thing for like underwater welding or whatever, but they had a kid do like independent study and got certified in underwater welding and literally graduated through IU in an accredited way of like underwater welding. And, he was pursuing something else, but like was able to take that with him because of like independent study. And like, so there are just so many different options, and it's really worth a look into instead of just letting people tell you like, no, you can't do that, when that's not the case. You can quite literally do whatever you want to do or achieve whatever you want to do. You just have to stop letting people tell you otherwise. And that was kind of like my problem, is I was just letting people tell me what I could and couldn't do. And now Taylor mentioned that she's in Phi Alpha Delta, which is the pre-law fraternity here on campus. I actually work for the IU Student TV in the sports section as a beat reporter. I am covering men and women's swim this winter/fall with another one of my associates. And I work in the control room every couple of weeks because there are a lot of us, and everybody wants to get experience. But last year, before I was even officially on the team, one of the people in there allowed me to come in and run playback in the control room for a couple weeks in a row. And so I do that very well. I'm really good in the control room. And obviously I would love to be able to be an anchor or do some beat reporting, which I'm super excited for in the rest of the year. But there are opportunities all across campus, not just only at IU, but most schools are going to have opportunities. And if not, just look into the community, look and see what you can find, look into internships. It's not everything is going to be handed to you necessarily, but don't skirt yourself of something because you're too scared, if that makes sense, But yeah, that's kind of what I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's your decision. Like, your advisors can help you and suggest a certain path, suggest certain classes that maybe will pique your interest, things like that. I mean, talk to your parents. They can help guide you whichever way because they know you hopefully the best. Your parents would know you the best. But at the end of the day, it's your decision. And I don't think that, because when I was reading up about like major changes, things like that, there was a whole article about how parents don't pick your majors. Yes, they can influence things that lead you to choose a certain one, but like, don't pick one just because your dad says, or your mom or whoever says, you should do business. Like, if you don't see yourself doing that, don't do that. Like, don't let them override like your decision. And that was a whole other part of it was like, don't let your parents pick your major. And another part was don't let your friends pick your major. Just because you have friends and they're doing a certain major doesn't mean that you're going to love that major, and it doesn't mean that you're going to thrive in that major. Me and Lexi do two completely different things. Like, I wouldn't imagine ever switching to sports media just because I want to be in a class with Lexi. Like, that just doesn't... You're doing a disservice to yourself by doing things like that. But at the end of the day, it's your decision, and it's a very big decision, and a decision that shouldn't be taken lightly, in my opinion.
No, I agree. That's what I was going to say is like, yeah, I, for a while, thought that I'd want to go and like work for, and this is so silly. When I was, like I said, when I was little, I really wanted to do like marine biology. But another part of me for a while was like, oh, I want to go work in the FBI and I want to be a special agent because I'm really cool like that. And I was gonna, get a criminal justice degree and pursue law school and then go off and do that. And then I was like, you know what? No, I don't want to do that. I don't think that I would be happy, and it's not for me. And so I realized that very early on and shifted my focus. And as much as I love Taylor, I would not be taking half the classes that she would just so we'd have class together because I would probably die in one of them. So it is one of those things. Yeah, like she said, it's super, super important that you stay true to who you are. And of course, it's great if you have friends that are doing the same thing as you, or you make friends that are doing the same thing as you. But it's crucial to remember that, in the long run, this is your career and this is your major. And this is, money that either someone else is paying, you're paying, or you're repaying, whatever the case is, it gets down to the point where it's like, oh, I thought for like a long time, like I wanted to do what this person was doing, but you get to senior year and you're like, oh my God, I screwed myself over and I'm going to literally have to graduate with this degree and then either go and get an accelerated degree or go back to school and waste more money. Like, it really is. It just gets to that point where sometimes you're like, I need to listen to myself and figure out what I like and not what other people like. I need to kind of do this for myself. And it can be hard, I would want to, just because I'm comfortable, I want to be in a class with Taylor, of course. But then I'm realistic about it and realize that that's just not what I need to be doing for myself. And so Tay touched a very, very valid point of, you got to remember that you got to do this for you. And of course, other people's opinions are important. And we're not saying to completely disregard, but to remember that that is not the end all be all is what we're saying. It's just, you don't have to go by every word that someone else is saying, if that makes sense. But we're kind of getting to the end of the episode. Today was a little bit shorter. But Taylor has a couple of things that we're going to end off on, and then we'll kind of, I guess, recap the weekend and just talk about some fun little things here at the end of the end of the podcast. But Tay's got a couple more things to say really quick before we get to the end of the pod.
Yeah, so there's a lot of statistics. There's statistics that just, I think, should make you feel a little better. Make you definitely feel like you're not alone, because the U.S. Department of Education says at least 30% of all people going to college change their major at least once within the first 3 years of enrollment. So that's at least one time. More change multiple times, things like that. But just a couple other numbers. 42% of math majors change their major. 40% of natural science majors change their majors. 37% of education majors switch. 35% of all STEM majors switch as well. 28% of computer and information sciences majors switch, and 26% of healthcare field majors switch. So if you were listening to all those statistics and hearing me ramble, me and Lexi both originally fall in two different categories on that list. I being one of 35% of STEM majors that change, and Lexi being one of 26% of people from the healthcare field that change. So it just goes to show that you're not alone in this, and that you will need a support system through this process, because like we've been saying, it's not a decision to take lightly, but it's a decision that should be for the benefit of you. So definitely make sure you have a good support system. See your advisor, talk to your friends, talk to your family, do all that good stuff, because it's a very important decision, and I know we both didn't take it lightly, obviously. So that's our best advice on that.
Yeah, and it's like productivity-wise, it's one of those things, really quick to kind of touch on the end of like that is, utilize your advisor. Obviously, they are there to help you, and that was kind of one of the other things that I wanted to touch on that I was starting to at the beginning of the video or the episode, was that my advisor is in what they call university division. So I'm technically still in undecided, not really, because it's under that I'm pursuing a media BA. Obviously, like subcategory sports media. And then I am technically what they call a pre-media student. So I am still in university division. I want to get out of it really bad because I want to start talking to advisors in the media school. I can't have access to those, though, until I complete a couple of my prerequisites for the College of Arts and Sciences, which is what Taylor is in as well. However, obviously, it's a different division of that. But I am in a university division, and they are great, but they're very broad. And it is really hard sometimes when you're trying to get specialized advice. So don't be afraid to find people who are in the same area of study that you are wanting to pursue or that you are pursuing, but you don't have access to those advisors, because through that, I was able to talk to a College of Arts and Sciences advisor through Taylor, who really helped me second semester turn things around, as well as a media specific one through one of my friends who has been super beneficial. So utilize your advisors, be productive about it. Don't wait. If you really know what you want to do, obviously they're going to kind of walk you through the process and help you understand what changing that looks like. But just, a reminder that, you want to be productive about it. It's not something to take lightly, but also it's, something that you should do if you're passionate about it, and it's okay if you do. We want to say that, we support you, and we understand that what you've been through, what you're going through, what you're thinking about doing. So, if you want to leave a comment or DM us questions, anything like that, you don't even have to go to IU if you have questions. Like, we would be more than happy to help figure that out if you have anything that you want to know. Because it really is something that's important to the both of us and was really vital in our freshman year of college. And so, we're doing great. We're thriving. We're doing really well. Taylor did super well over the summer and I did as well, like I said, and we're doing very well right now as it's the start of the school year, but I feel like it's just going to go super well the rest of the year. And I have really high hopes that, we'll finish strong and, continue to pursue our dreams and have a good time with it. So that has kind of been our episode today. Tay, do you have anything else that you would like to add?
And I know we said that it's a very serious topic, and this episode was meant to be a more serious one. But still think about the joy in just doing something that you're going to be happy doing. Like, if you're miserable in the classes you're taking right now, find little things that bring you joy. And then when you have that conversation with your advisor, be like, this is what I loved about this class, and I liked how this class was structured, or this is what I didn't like. And just, I don't know, really, really just think about all of it and just continue to have those conversations with advisors, definitely.
No, I agree. For sure. That's super, super, super important. And yeah, that's kind of a good way to encapsulate the end of our episode today. And again, this was a super serious episode. But we've got some really fun episodes coming up. So, this Wednesday, we have a really fun one. I hope you guys are excited for this one. So Wednesday's little sneak peek is hot takes. And we won't get too far into that because if I go any further into the episode title, I might get roasted alive. But yeah, hot takes is what we will be touching in just a couple of days. And I'm super, super, super excited for that episode. And then we have some fun ones planned for the future. We've got maybe some special guests coming up here in a little bit. So super excited about that one. But yeah, we love you all very much. And like we said, we are here for, you. If you need anything, please DM us. Our Instagram is lexandtay.pod. And you can obviously leave a comment on YouTube or, I think we've got Q&A up on Spotify. So if you have any questions, let us know. We would love to hear from you guys. And yeah, really quick though, before we end, I think a little fun thing that we should end on is our weekend. Taylor and I had so much fun. Friday, IU played Indiana State, and Taylor and I got to actually go out on the football field and watch pregame warm-ups. We were right next to the defensive line down on the field, and then also got to hold the state flag while they played back home in Indiana and, shake it out on the field, which was just super, super cool. And it was with IUDM, which was also very special to have some of the Riley buddies that we have for the marathon later this year come and get to be a part of that. And it was super exciting. And we, I saw some of my boyfriend's family, which was really, really nice. And we went to some friends' tailgates. And then I went home on Saturday, and Taylor can kind of talk about her weekend with you guys. But it was a really fun time. We had so much fun together, and it was really needed, to be honest. I mean, we've been really busy with school and the start of the school year and the podcast, but it was a really, really, really good weekend. So Tay, what do you got to say?
Yeah, I mean, we started out the weekend on Friday with our 41-7 win over Indiana State.
Absolutely crazy, by the way, you guys.
Yes.
Slay football.
Yes. Oh, slay football. Okay, that's giving go sports, but we'll move
Yay,
on.
Sports. I'm kidding, guys. I'm a sports major. I know what I'm talking about.
No, and that's honestly, it was a great Friday. Like you said, it was great seeing Ethan's family. They're always so nice, and they're friends, and they're always so inviting with their tailgates and stuff. And then we got to go to your friends. Her family was also so nice, so inviting, and just being in that whole culture, just everybody cares. Everybody's just so nice, and the tailgates are always so fun, and it's just a big group hangout. It's everybody loves sports, everybody loves IU. It's just it's a good place to be. Wouldn't want to start the weekend out with, doing anything else. Saturday, I did a lot of reading, but then I also broke it up and I went to the student rec center and, walked around the track listened to a couple podcasts, did some things like that. Then Sunday was just like a reset day for me pretty much. But yeah.
Love that. But yeah, that's kind of been the episode today, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We're really excited for Wednesdays. It'll be a lot more upbeat, I think. But again, I think that's this, this is what this podcast is for. It's our take on college, and we want people to understand that we have been in their shoes, or if this is ever something that comes about, you are not alone at all. So anyway, thank you guys so much for listening or watching. And this has been Lex
and Tay,
and our take on college. We love you all so very much. We will talk to you later.